Commissioner Pfeiffer, would you lead us in the pledge, please?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Good morning.
Morning, everybody.
First item we have is the approval of the agenda. Move to approve.
Second.
We have a motion by Sutton, a second by Pfeiffer to approve the agenda. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Morning, Rachel.
Morning, Rachel.
Morning, guys.
Next item, we have Scott Mites with Emergency Management and Leslie Ann and Allison with NECOG. Morning.
Good morning.
Talking about our VCBPP plan and contract.
This is
A
our
lot to say in 1 minute.
5-year update for our pre-disaster mitigation plan. NECOG, these two fine ladies are going to talk about the contract that we got. We got some grant money to fund the update of this plan, so I'm going to turn it over to them and let them tell you the show.
Okay.
The mitigation plan is through FEMA, and what it is a natural hazard mitigation plan. It's for Brown County and all jurisdictions who choose to participate, and the purpose is to create a comprehensive long-term plan to deal with natural hazards before they occur. What it is kind of a collection of the hazards that Brown County has and projects and things like that that we can use to mitigate for natural hazards. It's required to be updated every 5 years. The current plan expires January 31st of 2022. By updating the plan, Brown County can receive funds through FEMA for projects listed in the plan, up to 75% grant, and then 25% would be local match if they apply and funds become available. Public participation, well, I apologize. The grant award was $14,625, and the total contract is $19,000. With the in-kind, Brown County would be responsible for $4,875. We collect that in-kind through public meetings like today, through the planning meetings that we do, and the FEMA volunteer rate is $22.57 per hour. Most of the public participation meetings is how we gather the in-kind. So when you speak about the plan at these meetings, at city council meetings, at the planning meetings, that's how we collect the majority of the funds. We plan for 3 meetings, but probably we'll wind up doing 4 for Brown County, and we'll start the plan this summer and hope to have the plan submitted by probably the end of the year, well before the expiration date. Do you have any questions?
The funds, the $19,000 with our participation 14, is that for the full 5 years or is that each year?
That's full 5 years.
So you get that over the 5-year period.
Once the plan is approved by FEMA and adopted by each jurisdiction, then the plan is good for 5 years. There's an updating process if you choose to do that annually, just to review it and see if anything's changed.
So the type of projects we see, I mean, the projects I think are the real kind of incentive to do the plan. So it can be simple things like ordinances, like a burn ban ordinance, right? You're hopefully preventing fires if you have the burn ban. It can also be infrastructure projects, storm shelters, generators, usually for cities like storm sewer, upgrades. Those are the types of projects that we usually see. Can be like upsizing of culverts, that kind of thing. That gets a little bit harder to qualify, but it would certainly be eligible.
But you need the plan in place in order to qualify.
You need the plan, and then you need that project in place. So I mean, if it's a, you're looking at culverts, you can either have sort of a more general project to cover areas that come up, or if there's a certain area that's identified that is problematic, you could be a little bit more specific too.
Yeah, so essentially what you're doing is updating previously identified and also any others that may have emerged as circumstances change, whether it's from flood or from prevailing
Yep.
weather patterns and that type of
Yep.
thing.
So, yeah, I mean,
those
the-
situations, and that if there's funding available, depending on the situations, this is one of the critical boxes you have to have checked on the very first part of the application, is they do have a plan in place, that yes, you can move forward. If not,
That's pretty much how it works. Yep, and types of hazards, I mean, it's really any natural hazards, so flooding, fire, high wind.
yeah, like you said,
Really?
storm shelter
Yeah.
projects
Yeah,
and things
I
like
mean-
that. If there's highway funding that's got set aside for those type of things.
Yep.
There is a new grant program out there once we complete this project. We've had the PDM grant, which is based off of presidential disaster declarations. And how that works is if the state gets a presidential disaster declaration anywhere in the state, there's a certain percentage of those funds that are put into those PDM mitigation grant funds. But again, that's only if we get a disaster or have a disaster somewhere in the state. So if there's no disasters in the state of South Dakota, there's no mitigation money. Well, there's a new grant out there called the BRIC grant, which we will be speaking about soon because it has some county involvement in it. That allows, actually it's based on the whole continental United States, wherever there's a disaster, and obviously there's disasters every day across the United States, but there's a certain percentage of that money then that's opened up to everybody. So there should always be a pool of money available to apply for a mitigation type fund. So again, this is like Commissioner Wee said and the girl said, this is one step in the process that we need to do to be able to make those funds. A lot of those funds have been going to underground burials. The Northern Electric and the cooperatives have been using them to do underground burial projects. So again, this is money well spent and time well taken to help towards mitigation. So.
And we really focus on public involvement, informing the public as to different things. We use surveys. We try to schedule meetings so that way the public can attend. We ask that each city council or commission present information about the plan at each meeting so that way we can try and get more public involvement regarding hazards.
We'll be reaching out to the city of Aberdeen and Groton and the cooperatives and all those folks to come and be a part of our plan. So we cover all aspects. So.
How many entities can apply for this plan in our region? Is it just Brown County, or can the city of Aberdeen apply? Can the city of Groton apply for all this?
The county is the one that is the main applicant, and then like if the city of Aberdeen had a project, they would be a sub-applicant.
It's kind of a multi-jurisdictional plan, so the county has to have the plan and then all the cities participate. So each county has their own plan.
How is the money determined? The amount, you talked about the 19,000 or 14,000. How is that number, how do they come by that number for Brown County versus like McPherson or Edmonds? Any idea how that is derived?
The amount of time involved, because Brown County is such a big county, it requires a lot more time to go to each jurisdiction and try and find out the natural hazards and
Makes sense.
just the population.
Based off of the scope of work, whatever kind of formula they have for that.
Right.
Anything else?
Do you want to leave the contract?
So we need approval of this contract.
Move to approve it.
Second.
We have a motion by Sut and a second by Weiss to approve the PDM contract. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Well, thank you very
All right,
much.
thank you.
Thank you, lady.
Very good day. Okay.
Take care. Perfect, thanks.
Next item, we have Gene with our Equalization Director, Annual Conference and Director of Equalization and Discretionary Formula Resolution. Sounds like a lot.
Morning. Per SDCL 10314, I'm supposed to meet with the Commission the first Tuesday of April every year in reference to the performance of the Director's duties.
Here we are.
Here we are. First off, let's talk about equalization meetings coming up. County Equalization meets, or begins Tuesday, April 13th, can be in session for 3 weeks, so the last day it can be in session is May 4th. We do plan to meet on the 13th, the morning of the 13th, organized as a county equalization board. Take care of all the normal stuff, or exempts, or senior freezes, and the like on that day. There'll be a short, nobody coming in that day. I do plan on meeting the morning of the 20th as county board. At this point, I only have 5 county board appeals. 3 of them are going to be stipulations. Right now I only have two disputed county board appeals. They still can appeal up to the end of the day today, so we're not locked into that number, but it's going to be a really, really light county board of equalization. We're kind of good to go there. Hopefully 20th everything's done and over with. Consolidated board in the city also can meet beginning on the 13th, can be in session up till May 4th. We plan to open on the 13th as a consolidated board, that afternoon, 1 o'clock. There again, just a matter of organizing as a board, and really nothing else. About a 2-minute meeting is all that's going to be that afternoon. We plan to meet the afternoon of the 20th again. At this point, I have about a half a dozen is all consolidated board appeals. They also can still appeal till the end of the day today. Yesterday I had 2 appeals withdraw, so that's okay too. So we're not quite sure how it's going to be completely when it's done, but it looks like a one-day event. So easiest boards I've ever had in my career doing this.
Very good.
Some changes coming up this year. New legislation passed, House Bill 1085, changes the criteria to qualify for A classification slightly. It takes away the income. It sets your $2,500 gross income as the required income versus the convoluted 10% of productivity value in order to qualify for A classification, which was just kind of goofy. It also changes, before the wording said it had to have an agricultural use to qualify for A classification. That's been changed for ag has to be the primary use, and it also specifically says not incidental or secondary use. So that kind of takes some of that question out of whether it's a use or not a use. If it's in question as to whether it's an ag use, it's probably questionable enough that it's probably not. We have a new soil survey going to go on the book for 2022. We're in pretty good shape on that. Our maps are all in. All of our stuff is built into BC Connect as far as doing the calculations, that kind of thing. Scott Madsen is working on counting acres, getting our soils split and counted for each parcel, so we can apply those to the factor, or apply those to the parcel. One thing cool about BC Connect is we are able to set up a program on a test server and on a live server, so I can run my new soil run through my test. Actually printed the assessment book. We'll get it out to the equalization boards to look at before I run it on the live server and print assessment notices. I'm hoping that that's ready to go by fair time. That gives township boards a little time to come back to me and throw up any red flags they need to before it goes live. I do expect county boards next year to be much more lively than they are this year. Other than that, really that's about all I have. We did get a little clearer direction about what does or doesn't qualify for ag land adjustments. We're supposed to kind of put those into play in 2021 to run through the Department of Revenue. We're kind of putting that off a little bit because there's really no reason to change all those adjustments, just put on a new soil survey and redo adjustments again. So we've kind of left the old ones stay. Some of the obvious ones we have removed. There we go. The only other thing, we have 5 fieldmen. We have 3 vehicles, 2 4-wheel drive vehicles, one that an Impala that we probably never leave town with. Most of the year, all of them sit in the parking lot, but when we get to September, October, November, December, it'd be nice to have at least one more vehicle we'd be confident to drive out of town with. If a 4-wheel drive vehicle were to come up in surplus from somewhere, shop or sheriff's department or whatever, we'd be interested in picking it up and taking care of it. That, I guess, is pretty much all I have.
Do you get the list from surplus?
Can I ask you a question, Doug?
Yeah, just a second.
Go ahead.
Yes, Rachel.
So Gene, when you're talking about the change legislatively for what qualifies for ag, do you envision that changing a lot of the parcels here in Brown County, or are we already kind of doing that, and when does that take effect?
That will take effect in 2022. It's new legislation as of right now, so we had pretty much had it set in play going into equalization or going into assessment notices before it was actually on the books. So it'll take effect this summer going into assessments for 2022. It's not going to change us a whole lot. It's going to probably just remove some of the question as to whether it'll make it more definite as to what does or doesn't qualify as ag. In the past, we've had some questions as to whether is this really an ag use or is it not an ag use, and the fact that there's any kind of ag use on it at all, we've pretty much let them have ag status. The codified law specifically now says the ag use cannot be a secondary or incidental use. It has to be the primary use of the property.
The reason I ask is if we get, residents that are asking if that will, some of those questions in the past, I imagine that it might flip the decisions we made. So I didn't know when that would have happened, or if those folks can be looking at a second review of how their property is used, because things change year to year, people retire, uses change, so I just wasn't sure how that would work.
It's going to flip a few that we have had in a classification, because we've been pretty loose about what we call an ag use, and now it specifically says not incidental use.
Thank you.
Yep.
Mike, you had something, or?
Yeah, 2 questions. What do you anticipate is going to create or cause the activity and frustration with going to the new tables?
Well, first off, I think we're going to start fresh with taking the old adjustments off and relook as to whether the new soil survey actually accounts for some of the adjustments we made or not.
We're anticipating some of that will.
Some of that will. Some of it won't. Some of that we'll relook at again and kind of see what happens. The other thing that's going to come, a little frustration, you'd asked about that a week ago or so. Our old soil survey had about 81% or so of the county classified as cropland. The new tables are going to have about 85% of the acres that count as cropland. So there's going to be a few that are going to jump from a range top dollar to a crop top dollar. That'll bring up some interest or whatever, or there too. probably not as much as you had anticipated with the county you brought up,
Right.
but it is going to be, 3 or 4% of our properties are going to change class from a range to a crop rating. Now, whether that still is the highest and best use, we'll play with at township boards. And the other thing that's going to come into play, and I don't know if the Department of Revenue's really quite figured it out yet, is Brown County, and I'm not sure how far deep into the forest you want to get here, but Brown County is split into 2 grids. The west half is put into a grid with, that's out west, McPherson County, Edmonds County, some of those. Actually, not even the west half, pretty much everything west of 281 is in that grid. The east part of us is put in the county, that grid that goes east. Well, we have some soils in both parts. The thing is, say if you pull out just to pull out a soil, a Hogan soil maybe, is maybe a 0.7 rated soil out west, because it's compared to a lesser top dollar. It might only be a 0.65 out east, because compared to a higher top dollar. When in actual fact, it should, how it's going to come into play in the county is that the 0.65 and the 0.7 really should have the same top dollar, and the Department of Revenue is still kind of trying to marry those 2 parts together and make it work across one county. The way it is right now, it would be assessed higher in the west part of the county than it would in the east part of the county, when in all actuality it should be actually flip-flop. But everything within the own grid seems to look really good, just a matter of getting those 2 parts put together to make sense. And that's something we'll play with. We'll see what happens when the actual final numbers come, as to if we need to make some kind of adjustment within the county, or if Department of Revenue figures out how to make those match up.
But you make that jump across a little geopolitical boundary into another county.
Well,
Neighborhooding.
Same old story.
That's such a bad word as far as eggplant.
Depends on who's applying it.
We'll just play with whatever cards you get.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting because it appears that in general there's not going to be a huge deviation unless you're one of those individuals that has one of those handful of parcels that are directly impacted that are going to be moved.
Correct.
In which case
Correct.
it's a big difference.
We've got about 1,200 parcels that are being adjusted right now. Looking at our old soil tip was done in 1988. The farming conditions are considerably different than they were 30 years ago. So we are certainly due for a new table. Some of our top-rated soil is up in the northeast part of the county, and previously when we were neighborhooding, we made an adjustment there. A lot of those 0.8, 85, 90, whatever rated soils haven't had a tractor in them in 30 years because they've been too wet. And it looks like the new soil tables are seeing that some. So when we actually get it on and implement it, we'll see how it goes. Like I said, that's one thing really nice about BC Connect and having our own system here is that we can put BC Connect on a test server and a live server, and actually have it on a test server. We can play with it a little bit before we put it on live.
You can actually see the impact of them, as
Yeah.
opposed to guessing.
Before we send it out and hang ourselves, we can see what it's going to look like.
Make sure the rope is a little longer.
Makes the rope a little longer.
You mentioned a vehicle. It's not as lucrative as it used to be, but I know that they still get vehicles and some other things in surplus in here, and I don't know if you're on that list, but you might want to start checking.
I know there were a few that we traded in that we might have been interested in, but the sheriff traded some, but it looked like they were pretty interested in doing it in trade. We're looking at something that, like I said, you drive out here in May and June, we got 3 vehicles that never leave the lot. When you drive in here in October, we could use 1 more vehicle. So it's kind of
When you need them, you need them. And it might be a possibility, negotiate with a couple of the dealerships to see if you could lease one on a 2 or 3 month basis.
Well, we certainly aren't going to, overrun the
Yeah, but-
mileage.
Yeah, if it's gonna sit for 9 months, you could just as well put a short-term lease together if you can.
I believe Kathy was working on a list of all our inventory of our vehicles.
So,
Yeah, and we were looking at what has been used and what's not used, and I think we're supposed to be getting a list of all our inventory vehicles.
Okay.
Maybe something through that list will show up,
Okay.
because I think we do have a couple of vehicles that sit in a lot that don't get used very often.
Well, we got some, like I said, 8, 9 months of the year almost never move. But when we do use them, we could use an extra one.
Okay.
Hey, Doug?
Yes,
Yeah, this is Dirk with Brown County Highway.
yes,
Gene could have a conversation of it with me. We've got that Suburban. That's plenty good, and we do occasionally use it. But if you only needed it for part of the year, I mean, for a backup, if you can't come up with another plan, I mean, that Suburban's out here, we could let them use it for part of the year whenever your surge time is. It won't put us in a bind.
okay. Sounds like that might resolve our problem right there.
Yeah. That'd be cool. I'll get in touch with you.
thank you.
Okay, Derek, I'll let you and Gene work that out.
Sounds good.
Okay, thanks, Derek. Anything else, Gene?
Nope, that's all I got on that.
Okay,
No strawberry pie?
No strawberry pie.
Yeah, we haven't started equalization.
Is that required an action, Gene, to have that for that annual? I
Well,
don't believe it does.
no, I just had to.
I don't think we have to have Brad on that.
It's from my performance review. I don't know if you folks have anything that you wanna address or anything?
Discretionary formula.
Discretionary formula.
Yeah, I had a question on the industrial discretionary formula. What, and that's nothing new now. I mean, it's just a redoing it or approving it, or?
Yeah, and I don't know, did Ernest wants to talk about that at all? If you don't do that to me, or what do you?
Been some clarification in the definition, is that what it amounts to?
That's exactly what it amounts to. The resolution that we're operating under did not have a definition for industrial. It was brought to our attention that the resolution that we had was incredibly broad. Talking to Gene and Doug, the intent of the resolution was to incentivize industrial activity. Industrial, paraphrasing the definition that Gene ended up finding that fits, industrial, raw materials in, finished product out. So we put that definition into the resolution just to make it clear exactly what we were talking about and which would qualify. And we made sure that it addressed new construction or add-ons in that area that's zoned industrial.
So basically, there's two discretionary formulas. There's an industrial discretionary formula, and then there's the one that pertains to the, well, the one where if you've got a building that's over, and I think there's some changes been done there too legislatively, like on a farm building that's over 30,000. There are two different discretionary formulas because this industrial one does away with any tax for 5 years, whereas the other one is a graduated scale on the taxes that you pay.
Correct.
So is there a dollar amount on the industrial?
On dollar amount would be $30,000 on the industrial also. So if you got an industrial addition at $30,000, that's not much of a.
Right.
What happened in 2020? Each of those classifications, whether it's ag, commercial, residential, industrial, whatever, had its own statute that it referred to, and we could just say industrial referring to this statute. In 2020, they thought they'd make it simpler and put those all into one statute, which was cool. But we had to make new resolutions for everything last year, so they referred to the one statute instead of ones that were repealed. We did do the industrial just like we had previously, which referred to the statute that referred to industrial. We wrote it pretty much like it was before, but now when it refers to the new statute, what we ended up doing is not specifically putting a definition of what an industrial structure is, and didn't specifically say an industrial structure in an industrial zone, which was what our intent was to begin with. Seems that opened up a few loopholes that wasn't the intent of the resolution to begin with. So what this does is it makes a definition of discretionary structure. It specifically says industrial structure within an industrial zone, where previously it didn't. It just said structure within an industrial zone. And then we added our own thing here a little bit, where we're gonna have the Director of Equalization recommend whether or not it should or should not receive the industrial discretionary, and bring that to the county commission to make the final call, much like we do abatements. Director of Equalization says do or do not recommend, you bring it to the commission meeting and you either approve or don't approve it. I'd like to have that with the industrial discretionary also, so ultimately it's not just me making the decision, it's me making a recommendation. You folks can make the call as to whether you feel that fits the description of an industrial structure.
The other curiosity that I've got is then the value that's determined by the Director of Equalization on an industrial discretionary, is that tax dollar then that would ordinarily be collected, is that school districts held harmless in that as they are in TIFs, whereas the county is just the one in the TIF districts that are actually directly affected by those tax dollars coming in, whereas the school districts are held harmless? Is that the same with the discretionary on the industrial?
It's
in other words, the total amount of that value that you put on is on the books in the equalization office, in the assessor's office, and when those numbers go to peer, that holds the overall value higher, so that when the legislature puts on the general mill levy, the school districts are held harmless. Everybody picks up a little bit more of the tax, but the county is directly impacted because those tax dollars on that industrial discretionary is not coming into the county. You follow what I'm saying?
Yep, that's exactly what you're saying.
Well, it's not new growth as far as the county is concerned. It's frozen.
It's frozen. It's not new growth. What it does do, and
well, then how are the schools held harmless?
Well, they aren't. What it does, well, they are.
Yeah, they are.
Well,
yeah, they are. They are.
But they're gonna
Let
get.
Gene explain. Let Gene explain.
They're gonna get what they're gonna get. Your discretionary. When we send our discretionary report into the state, they realize there's going to be discretionary, and so they adjust accordingly. But they adjust according to a property coming on in a 20, 40, 60, 80, 100% increment. When we go to zero, say you have $1 million building, that first year the state's going to think we're going to account for our local effort as if there's a $200,000 increment coming on, and we have a zero. That actually puts us $200,000 short in our local effort.
In value.
In value, in taxable value. So what happens is that the schools still get their whatever it is, $6,500 per student. Your general levy caps, your general levies, school general levies are capped, ag, non-ag, and owner-occupied are the exact same levies no matter what school district you go to in the state. The difference then that is short, it gets levied through the special discretionary levy that you'll see. If you plug your tax bill, there's a discretionary levy that picks up shortages. A lot of times they're for abatements and things like that 1 year previous, which is a shortage that gets spread across the school district. That would be how those differences are made up. So it is a levy that goes across the rest of the school district. The school still gets your money. It's still an incentive for large industrial companies, plants to come into Aberdeen. And that little amount, in Aberdeen School District is almost $2 billion in value, so even a $100 million structure coming in is going to be a pretty small increment that gets picked up by the discretionary levy, but it is there, and it does get spread across the rest of the school district.
Thank you.
For several years, and then
Yep, the 5 years that discretionary is on.
Anything else for Gene or Ernest? I would entertain that we have a motion that we, Brown County adopt the discretionary formula regarding SDCL 10635-2.
move it. Second.
Moved by Sutton, second by Weiss. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion carries.
You can list me as no.
I believe, Rachel, were you no?
No.
Aye.
She was an aye.
Thank you,
I was
Bob.
an aye.
Okay, I didn't quite hear what everybody was...
Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you. Next item, we have Don Shepard with South Dump Site. Morning, Don.
Hi from Arizona, from the can. I guess I just want to kind of touch base on the last time we met, I think on the 16th, when we discussed a few things, particularly the 281 site. You know, talking to the neighbors and friends, there was a lot of concern on that, so I was just, one of the main things, has any decision been made as far as maybe at least knocking that one off the list of possibilities?
We,
For peace of mind?
Mr. Sutton and myself have a meeting with South Dakota Department of DOT
Okay,
on Thursday morning at 11 o'clock. We want to get some of the, whether we actually can have that there with the setbacks in the highway, the accident reports, all that stuff. We want to get some details from the state before anything else is done. So there has not been a decision if that is going to be the site.
Okay.
We're still working some particulars out. So I guess that's what I tell you, and I think a lot of it's going to have what the South Dakota Department of DOT has to tell us about that particular area.
okay. And then at the last meeting, we also discussed getting an estimate on the Jacobs property, and I'm wondering if that had been put together at all, as to like...
They're also working on that. That's our Plan B or Plan A. We don't know which one's Plan A or Plan B yet, to be honest with you, but both sites are still being investigated. We're still looking at both options.
Okay. And with those estimates, I guess somebody had asked me, I know at the meeting last summer, that I think it was the highway department that said they could donate up to so much, either work or whatever, towards that, and those estimates that have already been made, was that considered in that?
Well, I don't know that. We've gotten down to the number part of it yet, I think.
Okay. But
We're
I
still
mean,
trying to
is that
determine, I mean,
something
there's
to-
so much variance. If we go to Site A, it's going to be this. We go to Site B, it may be this. So how do we determine what a cost is going to be? Because there's going to be some different factors involved. You know, maybe the Jacob site is more dollar friendly for us to do rather than the other site. You know, that's where we're not at that point yet. I guess our first point is we have to decide on the site before we can start throwing those kind of numbers out.
Okay, so it's still possible that the highway department could still
Well, yeah,
help in defraying some of the costs? Okay. And then, because of the timetable, you know, that we have with the rural fire department, and I know you like your budget and approvals and things like that, realistically, once a site is decided, people are wondering, how long after a decision is made would construction, possibly be able to be started? I mean, are we talking 6 months after that, or depending on what time of the year it is, or what is that going to be based on?
Well, I think our goal, and this is just my interpretation, everybody else may have a different, I would hope we'd probably try to meet that July 1st deadline.
Of 2021?
Yeah,
Oh.
I mean, well, that's kind of what the fire department kind of wanted us out of there, and they've been gracious enough to extend that, and sooner or
Right.
later, they're just gonna say, get them out of here, and we won't have an option.
And
So
I
that's-
understand our commitment to them. I'm wondering, as far as moving forward from there, how long will users potentially have to
Well,
wait
I can
if
assure you, we're
something
not
gets...
dragging our feet, we're trying to get this
I
thing
know,
done.
I know.
It's just a tough thing that it's hard to find someone that wants a dump site close to them, and I mean, it's not like we're building a $350,000 business there.
Right.
It's a dump site, and people are a little reluctant to sell us land, let us look at land, and that's been, so we do have the two sites that are very
Well,
promising.
adjacent to the current one, like Dennis had mentioned at the last meeting, that people are kind of used to and have adapted to it, I guess there's still, everyone on that petition, that's our hope, okay? Just want to get that out there, that we still are pushing for either one side of the existing dump sites. And then, I guess my last question was, as far as when something, like more information, when you get more information from the DOT, or you do talk to the other property owners involved, and there is something, will this be on the edge? I don't get the Aberdeen American News, okay?
I would-
So I have no idea
I
from
would
them
think,
what's going
depending on
on.
how our meeting goes Thursday, that this will probably be put on next Tuesday again, if we have results and we get information that we need. I mean, we have to get some kind of facts before we can put it back on the agenda, but
Mhm.
if the DOT says, no, you can't have a site there, I mean, we don't know what their thinking is. So that's gonna be a big determination of what we're gonna do. So I think we just have to wait till Thursday, and if it's, favorable, we'll put it back on the agenda for next Tuesday.
So, as long as I maintain looking at the agenda online, then I should know that
Yeah,
it's on the
right,
for
that's
discussion?
right.
Okay, all right, so that's my big thing, because I just don't subscribe to the Aberdeen News, and a lot of people don't, and so I'm just, so that we can keep up on it and stuff, so I would know. Okay, I guess
Okay.
that answers my questions, I appreciate it.
Okay,
Okay, thank
do
you.
you want to, you or we have your phone number?
Yeah, I think I can just give it here, it's just 605-216-1585, and that's my cell.
Okay.
Okay?
Thanks, Don.
All right, thank you.
Thank you, Don, for
Thanks.
coming. Okay, that takes care of our items. I guess before we go into Jeanette's stuff, Scott, you had a couple things you want to bring before the commission, I guess?
I do.
I guess basically regarding the hiring of the secretarial or the position that's open at your office right now, I guess that's what you want to discuss?
As far as the job descriptions, probably the expectations of that employee and position. And I understand the full-time part has been approved. So, I don't know if you want to go over some of the job descriptions, or if you want to
What are the issues?
go in a different direction.
I think Scott mentioned to me that, the way it's advertised more for like a secretarial position. And he was thinking that it would probably be nice to have something that would be secretarial, but also leading to something that would be a little bit higher level, that would be able to do more of the small, fine detailed stuff rather than just secretarial work. And I guess that's kind of where he was at, is the pay that's advertised, is that going to be qualified to get the type of person we're looking to move up as more of a assistant to the type of planning and zoning versus rather than secretarial?
Right, it's going to be more advanced than just secretarial. The training and stuff Ron and I would like to try to get that person more involved with the complete office and the monthly job folders and the permitting, getting the knowledge of that and helping the people rather than just more of the filing and typing. I don't think I see a fourth position, you know, in the picture in the near future, so I want to try to utilize this as much as we can, time-wise. Like this month, we have approximately 30 items on our agenda. You know, Ron is 40 hours a week. I got 118 hours in, and we're still, you know, are we going to make it or not? I know, like on special exceptions, rezones and stuff, it takes about 12 to 16 hours to do a complete folder, letters, the applications, and taking the money and so forth. You know, and we have 5 rezones, 5 special exceptions, and 8 or 10 variances, and them are all that 12 to 16 hour time frame per folder to accomplish that, and that's certainly a lot more than, you know, it's 2 people just for the monthly packets.
So are you concerned about the description or the compensation or both, or where are you going?
Both.
So what do you want to see different?
Well, I have a copy of the secretarial description and then the planning technician description that was used when Ron was hired. I didn't want to spend a lot of time going into depth in it unless I thought there's a possibility of, you know, having someone more qualified or a higher pay scale. And
how much of a difference in compensation are you talking about?
Well, the secretary was 15, and I'm thinking like in the 18 range.
Okay. Have you talked to HR about it?
No.
When is there it's been advertised. When's the closing date on it? Is there a closing?
It has been advertised.
Erica, are you on?
Maybe it hasn't.
Yeah,
I have no idea.
I guess she's not.
She's on the list there, but she's muted.
Erica, are you out there?
I'm coming.
Okay. Okay, the question is, has Scott's opening position been advertised yet?
No, it has not, because I have not received approval from him when he wants put on the website.
I just got him.
Okay, well, that kind of brings that.
Yeah.
Well, I think that's why Scott wanted to come up here, because there's no sense going to you until he knew the commission. I mean, it's kind of like a chain of command. We have to figure out what it is we want to do.
So if we agreed on the technician position instead of the secretarial and advertise that, that would...
Some of that would get crossed out a little bit.
Right.
You'd cross between the 2 of them.
Right.
You know.
Meld the 2 into one.
You know.
Maybe even relabel it as administrative assistant or something.
Well, I think that's probably something that you and Erica would probably have to sit down and kind of mesh together, because, you know, you're not doing secretarial and you're not doing full tech, the tech part. You're going to have to kind of figure out how you want to run the ad, and I guess that's probably what you're asking. Is the commission willing to do that? And I guess I don't have a problem with it, because I understand that, you know, with the amount of work that we've taken on since the 3 Mile area came over to us, now we're only 2 people. The city has how many? And we've got 2, and they have
10.
Well, let's not lose track of the fact that the people in the 3 mile limit are relieved that the county is actually in control of the situation now. There's no question about that. So somehow we need to, you know, keep that in perspective too. And I think maybe where we're at is salary, or what we're going to pay that individual. I think that's probably, I don't think there's any question that it needs to be more than just a secretary. It needs to be
compensation plus capabilities.
Somebody that can directly help Ron and Scott. And so I think we need to determine what we're going to pay.
I think Scott kind of mentioned to me that he didn't feel that it had to be someone that had experience. He felt that they could train him into the office, or that person, into that position. It wouldn't have to be somebody that they were looking for that had a bunch of planning and zoning experience. They want somebody that's got the skill level to do it though.
Yeah. A high skill level in office settings, pretty much, is what I'm looking for.
So in your opinion, Erica, is $18 get us there, or what?
I would have to go compare what other counties do with, like, say, an administrative assistant.
That's what I would,
Yeah.
definitely.
Because even with Ron's position, we had to figure out which area he would fall into. So we put him more in like an assessor area or department equalization area as to a planning and zoning tech.
So is that something that you can get together on and then bring it to us next Tuesday?
Yeah. What I was looking for was either a yes or no, that it's a possibility before I went in here, you know, scratching this out, circling this, that type of deal, and then try to make that all work.
By doing this, does that kind of delay maybe bringing the fourth person on for a while? You know, you mentioned a fourth person earlier. That's why I guess I was kind of wondering, if we have somebody with a higher skill level, does that probably help eliminating that fourth person for a while?
If this person gets, let's say a year from now, gets trained in and working out pretty good, and we have 3 full-time people, then it might be more of a part-time secretary at the counter and that type of deal.
Okay.
But right now, you know, with everything that we have going on, I'm happy to hear that the next person will be full-time, that's for sure.
Well, if we're going to do this, we want to do it as right as we can and still as economically as possible. And if that means that we need to find, you know, a job description that's got a higher level of qualifications and compensate it appropriately to do that, I don't see any opposition to that. So,
Yep, I
work
agree.
with HR to get that definition cleared up and get it to
When did the county take over?
July of 19.
2019.
Yep.
Okay. And in
We
2020, there was $100,000 collected in fees and permits and all that kind of stuff, versus in 2019, 4,700. So more than doubled.
47,000.
I mean, 47,000.
Right.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, we had,
So it would more than pay for another assistant in the office.
yeah, we wrote up $20 million in permits versus $10 million the year before.
Yeah, there's no reason we would be
For
opposed
total
to
valuation, I mean.
Right.
making the qualifications and compensation appropriate to get what we need done.
I think everybody's kind of on board with it, so I guess I would tell you that you and Erica should probably try to get that description written up, and I guess the description kind of is going to determine if it's somebody we can get for $17.50, $18.50 an hour. I guess that'll have to be kind of the research you'll do on your end, so
DOQ or whatever, depending on.
Right, I guess that's kind of where we'll have to leave that.
Bring it back for sure next week so we can get going on it, so we can get somebody in there for you.
Yeah.
Yep. So-
Yeah.
And we can put a range in there too.
Yep.
That's what we do with quite a few of them. So if we do get somebody who's qualified, we do have that range.
Right, or if you find somebody that you interview that's got, you know, the potential and the background to be able to develop into that.
Okay.
No, I would agree. You need a full-time person, no question.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
I was doing Erica emailed me a review for the secretarial position on Thursday, I think, and I asked for a copy of the one we did with Ron, and I was going through them, and I kind of started doing some editing, and I thought, well, before I get too deep in this, I kind of want to throw it out there and see what the thoughts are, and
I'd say proceed.
Yeah.
Go.
Are
Keep
you
moving
still with us,
forward.
Rachel?
Work with Erica and get it figured out.
sounds good to me.
Yep, I'm on. I think that all sounds great.
Okay. Well,
Go for it.
Let's go down that path, and we'll talk next Tuesday.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Erica, did you have anything else?
No.
We got you off?
I'm good. You don't need me.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Bye.
Okay, Jeanette, I think anything else before we go into our approval or thing? Jeanette, you want to go ahead?
All right, approve last week's minutes, March 30, 2021.
Move. Second.
Moved by Sutton, second by Weiss, to approve the general meeting minutes for March 30th, 2021. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? motion carries.
Claims?
Move. Second.
Moved by Fikert, second by Weiss. Approve claims. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
HR report.
Move. Second.
Moved by Sutton, second by Weiss to approve the HR report. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Fair contract.
Move. Second.
Moved by Fikert, second by Weiss to approve the fair contracts. All in favor?
Aye.
Rachel?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
We're waiting for you.
Bridge improvement grant
Move.
award.
Second.
Moved by Weiss, second by Sutton to approve the bridge improvement grant award. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Lease for Dakota Slideways.
That one I got a question on.
Rachel, you want to inquire about your questions that you may have?
Yeah, I just didn't know if the week of the fair is not addressed in there. I didn't know if we needed to carve that out to make sure that any events they're hoping to have that week get approval through the fair board. And also, I didn't know if they provide concessions out there at all, but I don't think that should be allowed the week of the fair without permission or some stipend going to the fair. I don't know if that's been thought about.
I think that's a good idea, Rachel, and then at the same time, when it comes time to renew the go-kart track out there, we need to incorporate that same language into their contract, requiring approval of the fair board for any event that takes place during Fair Week. So I would recommend that we table the Slideways contract until we have a chance to add that verbiage.
Is that something
I agree.
you want to have the fair board? Do we just change the verbiage? Do we ask regarding the fair board, or what are your thoughts?
Do we take it to the next fair board meeting, or do we just talk to the chairman of the board or the president of the fair board? What do you think, Rachel?
I think we would be fine just adding another bullet in there of how it's written and just putting any events hosted. You probably want to go a few days before and after the fair, need to be approved by the fair board. I think we could put our own verbiage in there just to protect ourselves. It doesn't stop them from doing it. It's just they got to coordinate with the whole group.
Sounds good.
I think we've got Fair Week defined in our contract with the OD. That might be the way to do it, because then you don't have to plug and play dates every year. You can just say Fair Week is what's advertised as the dates of the Brown County Fair.
That sounds great.
Yep. Can you grab that language and plug it in?
Yeah, I can send it.
Okay.
Okay, anything else, Rachel?
No, thank you.
We will defer that then till next week. Next item, we have the lease with the Mossberger Rodeo for April, I forget the date, April 9th or 13th, whatever it was.
This weekend.
Second.
We got a motion by Kipley, a second by Fikert to approve the lease with Mossberger Rodeo. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Claim assignments.
Move. Second.
Moved by Fikert, second by Sutton to authorize the claim assignments. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried.
Abatement.
Move. Second.
Moved by Sutton, second by Weiss to approve the abatement. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Anything else, Jeanette?
That'll be it.
John, do you have anything?
Nope.
Okay. Anything else to come before the commission? I don't think I had anything else regarding...
That is my too. That helps keep the school district whole.
Just like
So they spread it out over the rest of the tax.
Not hearing anything else, I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
Moved. Second.
Moved by Sutton, second by Fikert to adjourn. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thanks,
Opposed?
Rachel.
Have a good day.
Motion carries. Thanks, Rachel.
Guys, have a good day. Thank
You too, John.
Thanks, guys. See you later.
Have fun.